Hey folks, how you doing? In this video, which is essentially a follow-up video for my previous video that I created explaining how to participate in math trades, I'm going to explain what duplicate protection is and how to use it on the OLWLG tool. Now, if you did not see my previous video and you want to participate in a math trade, please refer to the description of this video, which contains a link to the previous video that will explain exactly how to do that. It's really fun, so go ahead and do that. Now, as I mentioned before, this video is a follow-up. I won't explain any of the steps that I did on the previous video, but this is sort of a debt that I had from the previous video. I mentioned that I'm going to create this new video explaining this bit because it's a bit more complicated. I couldn't put it in the original video. So here we are now. It took me a while, but here we are. So, duplicate protection is essentially your way of making sure that when you are participating in a math trade, you will not receive multiple copies of the same item. So you can safely add the same game 7 times from 7 different people who are offering it and make sure that you don't actually get 7 copies of the same game. Now, as you see, I'm currently an active member of 2 different math trades. We have the monthly math trade for the US, that is the August math trade, and the New York City no shipping math trade that I'm the administrator of. So always join that if you are in New York City. And I'm going to use the August math trade to show you exactly how to do what you need to do to create a duplicate protection item. Now, the quickest and safest way to do that is first add all the items that you want from what people are offering. As soon as you do that, it will give you access to the quickest and most painless way to create a duplicate protection item, or a dummy item as it's called in the OLWLG tool. And so make sure that you do that first. Again, if you don't already know how to do that, refer to the original video that I created. It shows you exactly how to do that thing. So in order to create a duplicate protection item, you would first head over to step 4 of the relevant math trade for which you want to create the item. So I'm clicking step 4, and as you can see, I can see my full grid of items of things that I want and things that I'm offering. As soon as I want to create the duplicate protection, you will locate the duplicate protection button that appears here at the top of the grid. You click that, and if you already created, if you already added items, you will have this area here. Now, ignore the create new dummy item section. It's a separate section, and I will explain that later. It's a bit more, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's the more complicated way to do things. What you want to look at is the create dummies the easy way section, which will show you a table view of all the games that you selected that you are interested in. And the number here is the amount of copies of that specific game that you have added into your list. Now, let's say, looking at the grid, that I do not want 2 copies of Stella Dixit Universe. If you can see that I have 2 copies in my grid, I only want 1. I don't want 2. So in this case, I will check the checkbox here next to Stella, make sure that this here is selected. It doesn't have to be selected, but it will make your life a little bit easier if that is selected, and submit. That's it. That's all you need to do for a quick and easy way to create a duplicate protection item. Now, you will see that in your grid in one way. If I scroll now to the bottom of my grid, you will see that I now have an item called Stella Dixit Universe that appears with a green background. The green background means that this is the duplicate protection item. This is the dummy item that I have. If I scroll up, because I made sure that the checkbox above the submit button is selected, it auto-added all of the copies of the game for which I created the dummy into the dummy. So you can see that Stella Dixit Universe appears in a gray background. You can see that both Ahoy copies are also with a gray background. The gray background means that there is now a dummy item for those items, for those copies, and those copies are inside that dummy item. Now, you will not see that here by default, the container of the dummy item. The way for you to see that is clicking this green arrow right here that appears at the top right and bottom right of your table grid. When you click that, you can see that, voila, there are two dummy items that I have, one for Stella and one for Ahoy. You can see that for this, which is the actual dummy item, I cannot check it because it's the same item. So Stella and Stella, there is a line here. I can't click that, so no errors can happen in this situation. But if I scroll all the way up to the gray items, you can see that Stella Dixit item that people are offering is inside the Stella Dixit dummy item. And the two Ahoy games that people are offering are inside the container, the dummy item for Ahoy. Now this happens automatically. You can manipulate that if you want to. The reason to manipulate that is, for example, if there are 4 copies of a game being offered, 3 of them are just for the base game, 1 is a game that contains multiple expansions, and you don't want all those 4 lumped together. So you can always show this and remove one of the checkboxes, say for the item, let's say this included an expansion, so I can remove the checkbox from here, and that's it. That item will not be in the duplicate protection, even though it was originally added automatically. Just make sure that after you make any changes, you scroll down to the bottom and confirm changes, because otherwise those changes will not take. Now when you're done and you don't want to see it anymore because there is no reason for you to clutter your view, you can just click the hide button that appears where the green arrow was, and those items will be hidden again. So this is the quick and easy way to create dummy items, or to make sure that you have a duplicate protection for items that you created. I'm going to go ahead and confirm my changes so I can continue showing you the other options. Now, as I mentioned, there is another way to create a duplicate protection or a dummy item, and this is the more involved way, let's call it. Now I can see when I go here, my existing dummy items, I have 1 dummy item for Ahoy, 1 dummy item for Dixit. Now, the other way to do it is manually. The way you do that is, let's say I know of a game that I want, and I haven't added that game yet, but I know that it exists and people are offering it, and there are multiple copies that I want, but I haven't added it yet. In this case, you use the create new dummy item section and not the create dummies the easy way. So you create a short identifier, so let's call it game I want, or it's pretty short, so game, let's just call it game 1. All right, and a short description, this is a game I want. You're done. Make sure that this is not checked. I'll explain what this is a bit later. And you click create. Now, if I click the green arrow here, you will see that this new container, dummy item, appears here to the right. This is a game I want. All right, I can hide it again. And what this gives me is the option now to go to step 3, where people are offering games. See all the games that are being offered. Sorry, my computer is a bit slow, so let's give it a second. All right, I'm going to view the entire list because I want to see what exactly is being offered. And now let's say I know that there are multiple copies of Baron Park that are being offered, and I want that, but I haven't added it yet. So I can click Add Now, and you will see, as soon as my computer will decide it wants to respond, that I now have a section in my area here of things that I'm offering for that item that actually shows all the container and dummy items that I have. So I can manually decide that the Baron Park, I want to put it inside this dummy item. Now, as soon as this is done, again a bit slow, so sorry about that. As soon as this is done, come on computer, move. I will save that item. I don't know why my computer is acting up today. Again, sorry about that. Too many tabs open, I guess. This is what happens. Alright, you'll have to excuse me. I now move to Firefox, which should be a little bit quicker. So as we mentioned before, this is a game I want. I click that for Baron Park. I'm scrolling down. I'm saving. Done. Now, when I go to step 4, and I look at the pseudo items that I have, this is the pseudo item for, or the dummy item for This Is a Game I Want, which we concluded is now Baron Park. If I scroll all the way down, you can see that Baron Park is now a part of that container. Now, the one thing that you have to make sure that you do, now that all those items are part of containers, is to make the selections for things that you are going to give for that item, but not for the items that are actual games that people are offering and are inside the container, but for the containers. So, as we mentioned, the way to do that is to locate the ones that have a green background and say that for Ahoy, I'm willing to give, let's say, which games am I willing to give? I'm willing to give Pandemic Fall of Rome, or Boom Lake, or Fast Slots, which is not going to happen. But generally, you understand, the selections that you're making should be for the container item, for the dummy item, and not for the actual items inside the container with the gray background. You can remember that by, if it has a gray background, it shouldn't have any checkboxes outside of the green background. So just remember that. This is the important bit so you don't end up having an item both inside a dummy item and not inside a dummy item. Now the last thing that I want to mention has to do with, let's save this so we can continue. So confirm changes. Is why you would use a non-duplicate protection dummy. This is the checkbox here that I told you to not check before and just ignore. The reason for you to do that is, at least the way I'm using it, is to save you time. So if, for example, the reason I use it, I want to accept money. So people who are offering $100, for example, I want all of those $100, but I don't want to restrict myself to only one of them. So I can create a dummy item, let's call it 100M, 100 monies, and we'll then call it here 100 monies. And I'm making this a non-duplicate protection dummy, again, because I do not want to only get one of them. If I'm getting multiple $100 for multiple items that I have, I want to accept that. So I do that, and I create the new dummy. You can see when I go here, I now have a dummy item called 100M, which is 100 monies. You can see that there is a star next to it. The star denotes that this is a non-duplicate protection dummy. Now, if I go to, let's say, the PayPal bin, and I see all the people who are offering PayPals, I can go and say, all right, I want this, and I'm going to put it inside this dummy. I'm not going to give it a value. Save. I'm clicking this, I'm putting it in 100 monies. I do not want to give it value. Save. The reason I don't want to give it value is because me specifically, I use the auto check to because I have a lot of items and I use the auto check for checkboxes to be selected automatically with values. And I don't want a situation because those are inside a dummy item. If I use the multiple protection thingy, then the auto checkbox thingy, sorry, then those checkboxes are going to be selected for the items that are inside the dummy. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want to have multiple items selected and have those selections for items that are inside a dummy and have them selected as well, as I mentioned before. I hope it's not too confusing. So I just don't give them values at all. If it's not understandable, just remember, just don't give them values. As soon as I'm done, I save this and I go to step 4. I can see that I now have the 100 monies container, and when I scroll down, I will see that I have 3 different items inside 100 monies. And now I can locate the 100 monies if I go all the way down on my grid. This is the 100 monies, and now I'm saying, all right, I'm willing to give this for 100, and this for 100, and this for 100, and I'll be able to accept $100 for all of those items and not just one of them, because this is a non-duplicate item dummy. So I hope this video has been useful to you in understanding what duplicate protection is and how to apply it. Whether you are a beginner and want to use the easy way, or an advanced user with multiple items and you want to use it for non-duplicate protection, or the other way. I hope this helped, and enjoy math trading. Cheers.